Last month, at the beginning of the attack against Iran by the United States, a US Tomahawk cruise missile struck an all girls school, an elementary school in Minab, Iran. It wasn't a glancing blow or within the blast radius, it hit it directly, and it killed most of those in the building at the time. More than 175, most of them little girls, a few little boys too. Parents, teachers, a few adults in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is horrific. This is absolutely horrific. And while collateral damage does happen during wars, this is a very, very extreme example of an error that was made for reasons that are unacceptable. We really should do better. And I want to make the case that this is the kind of thing that's all the more likely to happen as more AI and automation happens and occurs in targeting. So let's take a look at exactly what happened. I want to remind everybody that the aerial and satellite views that we have access to are less than and inferior to those that the Department of Defense has. They have, of course, all of this and better. So first of all, here's where the strike took place, and the strike was actually against a Revolutionary Guard base. We can see that this is an urban area, and this area here is the Revolutionary Guard base, right? That's arguably a valid military target for that reason, although the Revolutionary Guard is kind of a paramilitary domestic force, but okay. Now this is the school building right here. And as you can see already, it kind of looks like it might be associated with the base. It's kind of on the same block. It's got the same kind of building style and structure. And in fact, we've heard reports that part of the reason for this is that it was outdated intelligence from the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, because if we look at older photos, we can see here, 2012, that at one time this building was part of the base compound and it was later redeveloped. And, we could see here that you would access it from behind, and later on the fence was changed. The thing is, though, in addition to this, it was listed on Google Maps and Google Earth, and it was an open source place, right? It wasn't a secret or anything. So how did this happen? Well, this happened because they apparently were in quite a hurry and didn't do a lot of due diligence here. There is an office within the Pentagon that is intended to reduce civilian casualties, and in such a dense urban area, you would think that they would have maximum effort would be made to verify that this was not a civilian, because, well, let's look at what's in the area. First, I want to draw your attention to this building here. This is listed as the Regional Water Authority and therefore quintessentially protected civilian infrastructure. And you could actually see that there's pipes and equipment in back in some of the photos. That this is the wastewater and freshwater district. And then here is listed as an aquatic center, so I guess that's a swimming pool or something. And then this area here, it's listed as a shopping mall. It appears to be something like a marketplace, like a civilian market. And of course, we can see that there are houses all around here, residential areas, right? Mixed civilian development, like you would expect in an urban area where you have to be very careful with strikes. Now, what I would say is even more damning than the school is this. This is the base clinic. And the reason I say it's more damning is that with the school, you could at least say that maybe you were working with old intelligence and you also didn't bother looking at Google Maps. But this was always here, always as part of the base. And the other thing is that it's very conventional to have medical facilities co-located with military facilities, right? So you would come to expect that at a personnel base with parade grounds, everything, there might be a clinic, a medical center, right? And if you were attacking the base, you would have researched the base. You would know what facilities were there, right? So you ought to know that there's a medical facility. And if it's a military medical facility, it's still off limits. It's still a crime against humanity to bomb it. And it was also targeted. It also was blown up by a cruise missile. Now, I don't know if it's a fully military facility. Reports are it's cordoned off from the rest of the base and that it may also be used for civilian medicine, which would make it even worse. Here's a photo from Google Earth from the dispensary in there that was destroyed. And it's very interesting because you see like adult incontinence products and what looks like baby shampoo. So this may have been a dispensary that was used by members of the base and their families. That's common. Or it may have been used by civilians as well. In either case, though, they definitely should have known about this. It's even less likely in my mind that you would be able to not notice that the base had a medical clinic there than it would be that you would notice that there was a school that had formerly been a base building and had been moved, right? So it's hard to excuse that this could ever happen. In fact, it shouldn't be excused. This is a dense urban area where there's all kinds of civilian infrastructure very close by. And so what does this have to do with AI? Well, it's not that this type of error is native to AI or could only happen with AI. It's just gross negligence that happens when you're moving very fast. And in this war, it's been clear that AI has been used for target designation and has been used to basically reduce human oversight. There's a psychological effect that people tend to believe AI systems without as much review as they would other things, like you have another person told you that. And, that combined with an increase in speed, the fact that AI models that are used for this typically are not really designed for military purposes and are shoehorned into that. Their reliability has not been proven. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there will be more targeting errors, but it makes it much, much, much more likely. It reduces oversight and it encourages faster moving, creates the effect of being more prone to trust automated systems. The automated system doesn't have like actual experience, world knowledge. It can't think like, gee, this is an urban area. Maybe I should double, triple check. Doesn't do that. And so this really does increase the hazard. And that's what really it comes down to with concerns for military use of AI. It's not actually autonomous weapons that you have to worry about. Those already exist. And when they do use AI, they tend to use a much simpler, less advanced local one. What you really do have to worry about is decision making, target acquisition, target designation, logistics. That's actually how wars are fought. And that's how actual harm can happen when they are done wrong. And in this case, the harm done was absolutely horrific. This should never have happened. This really should never have happened. I want to also mention that reports are that it was a double tap strike. And it wouldn't surprise me if it were, although a double tap strike means that it's hit shortly thereafter of the first strike by a second strike. That's sometimes regarded as a crime against humanity, although it's a valid technique for use on hardened targets that can't be taken out with a single strike. But yeah, this is really intolerable. Blowing up hospitals, clinics, schools, not checking, not using restraint, not limiting yourself to combat in military facilities. And as I said, AI can and will make this worse if we don't use it with restraint.